The remains of 6 unknown Jews, including a child, murdered in Auschwitz, were finally buried at a Jewish cemetery on today, after spending decades in a museum archive. London's Imperial War Museum, ILM, made the decision to return them to the Jewish community after deciding it was no longer right to hold them after they were sent by an anonymous donor 22 years ago. The museum initially declined the remains, believed to have been collected by a Holocaust survivor, but the mysterious collector sent them anyway. The hordes of survivors and well-wishers came off the back of an appeal for people to attend the service of the unknown people. The ashes and bone fragments were buried at the United Synagogue's new cemetery in Bushey, Hertfordshire, at 11 a.m. ILM houses facilities to store human tissue, which it is legally able to do, and said it cared for them for the last 22 years. They were originally sent to ILM from Auschwitz in 1997 with a number of other items relating to the Holocaust. Share this article. Share. The museum had the ashes scientifically examined and discovered they were those of 5 adults and a child. They were buried in a coffin with earth from Israel. Rabbi Mervis, who ran prayers at the service, said the symbolism of the remains was enormous. "We find exceptional poignancy in the fact that there are 6 souls that we are burying," he said. Each one stands for 1 million souls who perished. And interestingly enough, there were just under 5 million who were adults and just over 1 million who were children. Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mervis added, there were 6 million individuals who were so brutally murdered and not accorded the dignity of a funeral. The War Museum contacted the office of the chief rabbi and Auschwitz Museum for their advice at the end of last year on what to do with the remains before it was decided that the Jewish community would provide a dignified and appropriate Jewish burial, according to Michael Goldstein, president of the United Synagogue. He added, "I have officiated at so many funerals. Did I ever imagine that the day would come on which I'd officiate at a funeral of victims of the Holocaust? No, never." After all, it's about 75 years have passed. It's going to be an enormous privilege and also a responsibility. They were stripped of their dignity, both in life and in death. And we will now have an opportunity to accord them appropriate dignity with a funeral. Speaking of the rise of anti-Semitism in recent years in both the UK and around the world, Mr. Mervis said, "The souls of those whom we're burying are crying out to us, and everybody around the world, please remember what happened to us at a time when not only did people mercilessly murder us, but the world turned their back on us. And therefore, where anti-Semitism is flourishing, it has to be checked and combated." The news comes out for Prince of Wales sending his most heartfelt condolences to the Jewish community ahead of the burial.